WJOP Radio, WJOP LP 96.3 FM. And our guest this morning is Jack Bradshaw, former redevelopment director for Newburyport. Just a Haverhill kid who found a home in Newburyport. And Jack, good morning to you. Welcome back. You were my very first guest on Wynn's World, WJOP Radio Wynn's World edition.
You were, and I thought I got fired, but thank you for having me back.
Can't fire you. You know everybody. And then some on top of that.
Well, if I just might add, people are very grateful that you're here, and of course with your record in the report, and they're wishing everything goes well, and they want to be a part of it. So I just want to impart that to you, as I just did to your Chief
Executive Officer.
CEO, all right.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. This is a wonderful place, a wonderful facility right here at the Senior Center. You'd be amazed at how many people and who I see coming in and going out of the Senior Center.
Sure, you know, you're amazed because they're your age, and you...
Well, today it's pickleball. That's...
Oh, okay. All right. I get it.
I had they're doing every Wednesday at 1 o'clock they have like a community hour that takes place. In 2 weeks they're going to have a community indoor yard sale that the proceeds will benefit a girl, I guess, who is receiving medical care for something, so that's going to be there. Last week, person you know, Dyke Hendrickson, was here. He was talking about his book.
Oh man, and let me just tell your audience that book is so interesting. That is to say, you can understand Newburyport better by starting with his book. It's just, and I went and got his, he autographed it for me.
Terrific.
But I wanted to give it to my family here for the future. And my wife loved it. She even made a note to Dyke, I think, as I recall. It's just very, very good. And Newburyport is new and old. And there aren't many old anymore. Everybody here is new. Should see this book.
Yeah, the book is called Nautical Newburyport. And if I remember correctly, he did a lot of research over at the Custom House Maritime Museum and the library as well.
Yes, indeed.
So
thanks for mentioning it.
Oh, my pleasure. It's it's what it's all about. And talking about the Custom House Maritime Museum, I had John McCone on a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Remember, and he's part of the new John McCone because he's not at the Daily News anymore. But one of the things he is doing are these historical tours, and one of them was during Yankee homecoming.
That's right. I saw that, and I was going to be out of town, so I couldn't participate. But I saw that. John and I had a great relationship, professional relationship, as it pertained to trying to get something else done in Newburyport. He was always there for us to listen to the people I was bringing in. And very nice gentleman. Lives over in Amesbury, as I recall.
Yeah.
So, I should look him up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I have his phone number.
Great. Okay. What's better than that, I think?
I have his email address. I know the street he lives on.
Oh, man. You've been around too long.
Well, not as long as you. You've been around for a couple of weeks, too.
Well, I was thinking as I came in here today, this is like the 5th location that I've been involved with the radio station here in town. And it's probably about 46, 47 years. Mm-hmm. First starting with football, then with local political news. Of course, it was a simple walk from the City Hall across the street.
That's right.
To the station.
Yeah, and all on the second floor, right?
Right, and all the news was downstairs in that building. And Bow Murphy's, he ran a little newspaper stand, tobacco, et cetera, but his son was a city councilor, Peter Murphy, but Bow knew everything. And a couple of doors away from me on the other corner was Joe Welch, Chase and Lunt.
Yeah.
So guess what? They saw everybody coming in and out of the post office. They knew what was going on. In City Hall, you'd go into Bob Murphy first to hear if there was anything you should know before going into City Hall. Oh, Bob was a legend.
Yeah, wow. And I remember bumping into Josiah Welch one day at the post office, and he said, the trip to the post office was probably one of the most important parts of his day because just the same thing. You saw people, you caught up on the local news that you wouldn't hear anywhere else.
I was doing an assessment a couple of weeks ago relative to downtown activity, and it dawned on me that the post office is one of the biggest contributors to what's going on downtown. A lot of people drive up to it around the back or up front or on the side, whatever, but they're saying hello to other people and they're running small errands. And there are other people walking to the post office. My wife every day walks to the post office, sees people, et cetera, et cetera. So there's activity. And why did that come up? Oh, that came up because I was in another community recently. Well, a local community where the post office is nowhere near the center of town.
Okay.
It's a city, but it's nowhere near the center of town. So it's a magnet, if you will, for activity, as were the banks. And we had 5 or 6 banks downtown then, Merchants Bank and Newburyport Co-op and the First and Ocean, et cetera, which are gone now. The buildings are still there, thank God. But yeah, you didn't have anything. But now it's happening. I mentioned when I was here last, relative to the traffic around Yankee Go Home Day, there was traffic. And if you don't believe that traffic, if you had waited a few days for the antique car show, it was. I have 2 friends who called me the next morning and said, Jack, I'm sorry I didn't make it, but we came to Newburyport. We couldn't find a place to park.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just glorious. No question about it. They took over the whole downtown.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And it grows every year, and there are people attached to that.
Yeah.
And the restaurants, we went to, it was my grandson's birthday. My son and my grandchildren came downtown also. And we met them for dinner downtown. The restaurant we were in, am I allowed to say where I was?
Sure.
Loretta's. All night long, the smallest group was 4 coming in. The largest one was 10.
Oh, my God.
And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And in fact, when we were going out the door, probably about 8:30, they were coming and coming. So all those activities just add to the embellishment of what was done so many years ago. And rehabbing.
Oh, yeah, and for folks that don't know your story, you were Newburyport's first redevelopment authority director, and so you were the guy that helped build what is there today, and it must have been an article in the Daily News that they were talking about the firewalls that put up in the in those buildings, and then you can still see those big firewalls today.
I hate to correct you because I might not get invited back, and I need the money. I want to correct you on something.
Sure.
I was not the first director. I was about the 5th, if you can believe that. We went through so many people, and I can name them, but there's no reason to. One's a judge in New Hampshire. He's retired now. He did the woman that got the young man killed at Winnicott.
The Pamela Smart.
Pamela Smart. He was the judge in that. But we went through 5 other directors over a short period of time. There was arguments between the board and city council, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to say I was the 5th. It could have been the 6th, but so it was just a very interesting time.
You probably didn't know any better when you took the job, right?
No, let me see. Can I tell you how it happened?
Sure.
Fortuitous. Well, we had a number of, the mayor George Lawler and then Byron appointed some very special people to the board. And that continued on, et cetera, et cetera. And then Rupert Knock retired from the school system as superintendent, and Byron appointed him to the redevelopment authority. Rupert wasn't happy with the way things weren't going. And so that involved I was the chair. I had to step down from being chair for a period of time so I could be the director for a month, roughly. We thought we'd get somebody in by that time. And God bless him, this one night, Rupert said to his other three colleagues, hey, we don't need an engineer to run this. We need a guy who can go out in the street and say hello to people. So that was my... But I did have to go hide for a while because, as you know, there were certain people that didn't want my presence around. But it all happened in working with the likes of Rupert, who didn't take anything from anybody. And there are people out there listening right now, former colleagues who were teachers or whatever, knew that Rupert didn't take any nonsense. But it was just a very nice time. Good people to work with, and they really got out of my way. I got a good staff, a well-developed staff, people who had backgrounds in HUD work. One gentleman came from Brookline, another one had worked in Salem. So there were about 5 of us in the end who knew what was going on. And in the HUD world. Newburyport, by the way, I've just recently seen it advertised as the first city that didn't go just demolition, but rehabilitation.
First in the country?
First in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's I forget where I saw it the other day, but I could find it again. But it was just a wonderful opportunity.
Especially for local kids from Haverhill.
Somebody's going to call up and say, he's really not from Haverhill, but...
You're from Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford, yeah. Well, they don't admit to being from Haverhill, for sure. Not the lace curtains over there.
But no, it's, all that work that you did, it, helped lay the groundwork for stuff like Yankee Homecoming, which has now been around for 60 years, and also the car show. I think this was the 6th year for that. Yep. And you're right, it was the biggest one. They had, I was talking with Wes Pettengill, and he said they had 250 cars this year, and I remember the first year we only had 100, and they had signed up 120 cars because you had to be invited, and you still have to be invited. They signed up 120 cars, only 100 of them showed up, and the thing just took off. It's
very professional. All of the owners of the cars were very professional. The signs were very well written. It was just a lovely, lovely evening.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have bought some of them. No, I've had enough of them. Thank you.
Now, I know that you were hoping that Senator Markey was going to be able to attend. Did he make it?
No, he didn't. Even as of this morning, I have been in contact. He's in Japan, China somewhere right now. The legislature, the senators, et cetera, are working very hard this summer, off summer, because of what. They're trying to put things together because I guess I shouldn't say this, but we're sliding. But having said that, no, he wasn't able.
Okay. Well,
maybe he'll be here later.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure that you'll get a chance to bring him up. You've got the ties, and that's one of the things that I'm sure that they saw, that when at the redevelopment authority they say we need somebody to go out in the street and greet people. That's what you do.
Well, an interesting thing you should say that when, and I don't know if I've already said this. I asked the redevelopment authority members one night if I could go out and try to solicit would-be developers for the buildings downtown, because we paid attention to the law for quite a while, and we hired people to look at through the Globe and through the Daily News. We advertised the buildings as such, and we were getting nowhere. The people who were coming in they really had no interest in it. They'd never done redevelopment. They never, it just didn't click for them. So I went one night before the board and asked that I be allowed to go out and solicit, or find, I should say, on my own, our own, would-be developers. And, they got crazy over that. And they said, absolutely, we got to do something.
Yeah.
This is going nowhere. And a dear friend of mine now wrote an editorial saying, he can't do that. No way, he shouldn't do that. I was so upset when, of course, in those days the paper came out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I read it around 1:30, whatever. I was so angry. I went and got in my car. I drove up to Gunquit Beach. This was probably in January, February, colder than cold. And I walked the beach so I could calm down.
Oh, wow.
I drove back. Our office was right across the street from the Daily News, being in the Custom House. I went over there and asked if I could see a certain person. I saw the certain person, and we probably collaborated for about an hour and a half. He then, the next day, wrote an editorial supporting my approach. And if it hadn't been for that, I don't know what would have happened, but I was able to go out and through linkages, however it was, chambers of commerce, so on and so forth, and the Ed Markeys of this world, in those days, Ted Kennedy and Ed Brooke before him, and so on, I was able to go to those people and say, do you know? And that's how we got our developers downtown. I want to say that probably 2/3 of them never been here. One fellow had never been here. He'd only been in this country a couple of years. A great Irishman who did the first building downtown, and he now owns the hotel downtown, the Garrison Inn.
Oh, okay.
But that's how it worked, yes.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in that. You got to go out and shake the bushes and introduce yourself, and that's what you do. So, hey, thank you for that. Hey, we're going to have to get you back again. You have more than one story to tell.
Yeah, my wife thinks it's story.
I'm reading a book on that, What Great Salespeople Do, and it's all about storytelling. People respond to stories. It's left brain, right brain, and the stories react to the right brain side of things.
I just completed 50 years of employment. 25 years of employment with Gilbane Building Company, and it was all about sales. And I want to tell you, I lost a couple of public opportunities, public offices, and had I won those, I'd be out in the street begging today, financially.
Yeah.
So the ability to sell, of course, as you know, I did from Hawaii to New York City, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's fun. And I don't recall losing any big ones badly. They were tight.
Yeah.
Could have been dollars and cents, but I loved it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get you back.
All right, sir.
Hey, Jack, thank you so much. Jack Bradshaw, just a kid from Haverhill, working in Newburyport.
Just give me a second. Where are you a kid from?
Concord, Mass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
Shot heard around the world. Old North Bridge. Paul Revere. He got caught when he stopped at the ice cream stand. That's the story.
Yes. You got it, man.
Thank you very much, Jack Bradshaw, our guest this morning. Here on Wynn's World on Joppa Radio, WJOP LP 96.3 FM. We'll take a look at the news. Salisbury Police Chief Tom Fowler is going to be joining us, too, coming up here on Joppa Radio. Joppa Radio, WJOP LP Newburyport 96.3 FM, part of the Greater Newburyport Community Media Hub, now airing the morning show on Comcast Channel 9 in Newburyport. And our guest right now is Salisbury Police Chief Tom Fowler. And Tom, good morning. Welcome into Wynn's World on Joppa Radio.
Excellent. Good morning, Wynn. Thanks for having me. And I'm happy to see you're on the air again, and we can do this.
Oh, it's a fantastic event. It's a facility that is really just unbelievable. Beautiful sites up in where the Bresnahan School used to be.
Yes.
And they moved the school to the back of the field, which resulted in the baseball field disappearing, but that resulted in the Richie Eaton baseball field showing up over the Knock Middle School.
Everything's connected.
It is all connected, isn't it? Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
And we were talking about you on the news, as a matter of fact. You had some visitors over the last couple of days over the Salisbury Police Station.
Yeah, we had what we call our accreditation on-site. Mass Police Accreditation is a volunteer program where we let police executives in to take a look at our policies, our procedures, and for 2.5 days they did that to make sure our policies are up to standard, make sure we're doing what we say we're going to do, showing proof that we follow our policies. So we had a very successful on-site the last few days. A little stressful at times. You let somebody in and kind of let them poke around your police department and the way you do business. But I'm happy to say we're in really good shape and had a very successful on-site.
That's great. Now, they probably can't say if you are going to be getting that accreditation?
No, what they do is make a recommendation to the full commission, which meets next in October. Like I said, the on-site was successful. We expect a favorable recommendation, but nothing set in stone until we get to that meeting October 12th.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so October 12th. I'll have to write that one down. That's right.
Sure.
Right after the Topsfield Fair.
Yes. Didn't know that.
You want to be there. I think they'll have Herman's Hermits will be there. Peter Newman, Herman's Hermits, and I think the Village people might be there too.
Wow. Excellent.
Anybody ever want to borrow your uniform
not
for
yet.
the YMCA?
Not yet. Excellent. I listening to the news, I heard you mention the bill that Senator O'Connor Ives has at the State House. I spoke to her last week, and I'm happy to say we at Mass Chiefs of Police, I sit on the executive board, are supporting that bill, and hopefully it'll get through for her. So we'll be sending a letter of support for the low interest loans for first responders in the communities.
That's very important. And is that standard in all the communities now that you have to live within a certain distance?
There are most police departments have restrictions on how far away you can be, mostly for responding. If you have to get called back, it's really not practical to live an hour, 2 hours away. General rule of thumb is about 45 minutes.
Okay.
But what this bill does is get people to live in the community. A lot of times when an officer lives in the town they serve, there's a lot more accountability, there's a lot more relationships built. It's not like they're just coming in, doing their job, and leaving. They're part of the community. One of the things I wanted to do when I came up here 5 years ago was live in Salisbury to show my commitment to the town. And I think that goes a long way. If police officers live in the town, they have a little more ownership, a little more accountability. So it really goes towards the principles of community policing.
That's right. It's because people see you when you go to the store, when you go to the pharmacy.
Right. It's not just here for work and then leave.
Yeah.
Not so much in an area like Salisbury, Newburyport. In more urban areas, you see incentives like this to have officers live in town. But the principle goes across all different towns and cities.
How about that? Now, you've been here for 5 years?
Yeah, it was 5 years in July.
Nice.
Good 5 years. We got a lot done. I'm happy to say the town and I worked out a contract for another 5 years. So there's still a lot more I want to get done. Working with Neil Harrington has been great. Salisbury's really changing and moving forward. The library, the police department, the improvements down the beach. This has been our busiest summer since I've been here, and a lot of people say the busiest summer in a long time. And I'm happy to say not a lot of major crime either. We did have that carjacking incident, but I'm happy to report, I don't know if you saw the press release we let out, that we've identified the people and we have charges on file. One of the persons happens to be incarcerated at the House of Corrections in Middleton. The other one's still out somewhere where we're actively looking for him now that we have a arrest warrant for him.
Oh, okay. That's right. I did see that very briefly. Yeah. So they were able to make the identification from the surveillance video? From the
videos, from the victim, from the assistance of other officers. This was really a group effort here in Essex County. Middleton Police, Lawrence PD, the DA's office, Mass State Police, all helped my detective, Keith Forget, who worked extremely hard on this. We take incidents like this very serious, and we threw a lot of resources at it to identify these people and hold them accountable.
I bet you were happy to find one of them was in a spot that you could easily.
Yes, easily locate them. That makes life a little easier because then we can talk to him if he wants to talk to us. But glad we have those charges and glad we could bring this to some conclusion.
I know that there was a story just the other day, could have been yesterday. Things kind of blend together for me sometimes. Sure. But this happened, there was a teenager who passed away from a drug overdose in a motel up in Rochester, New Hampshire. But a woman who got tied into the case actually is from Salisbury, and it ended up in federal court. She just was given a 5-year sentence on that.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, that's part of the last time when I've had you on from time to time, you've talked about your efforts to enforce those laws.
Right. It's a little different here in Massachusetts. In New Hampshire, they can hold people that supply drugs, and there's a fatal overdose accountable for that. Laws are a little different here. We tried to go down that road. I know there's a couple of families that we've worked with that wanted to try and hold those people accountable, but the laws are a little different here. So that's something maybe we look at through the legislature in changing. We have a Good Samaritan law here, so if somebody's experienced an overdose and somebody's with them, if they call for help, medical help, they're kind of immune from any criminal charges when we get there, if there's drugs present, things like that, because getting medical help and saving that person is much more important than somebody getting arrested after the fact in some cases. Okay. So it's a little different here in Massachusetts, but I did follow that case because it was a Salisbury resident, and that's kind of a new thing. She got indicted and sentenced just recently.
Yeah. I think it was last week. 5 years
Yes.
in prison. So that's I'm glad, and that reminded me of the program at Rotary, Newburyport Rotary Club. You brought up the then police chief of Gloucester talking about his Angel program, which you kind of incorporated in Salisbury.
Yeah, many police departments across the Commonwealth have come up with some type of outreach. We're working with the Pettingill House to do outreach. If we experience a non-fatal overdose, I have officers that actually go to the hospital or go to the family. And if people want to get in the treatment detox, we will facilitate that. We have some great connections now. And in many cases, we can get people into detox right away. It's usually a very small window after a crisis that somebody says, yes, I'm ready to get some help. And that's why we try and do whatever we can at that moment to get them there, be it bringing them to the detox or getting some transportation set up, and then hopefully getting the treatment that they need.
That's right. It's interesting you say a very small window, because there's that moment between the desire and when you actually do whatever it is you're going to be doing. Yeah. There's that moment that you can go either direction, and that's when you need to catch them. Right.
Addiction's a really insidious disease, and there are those opportunities where we can help people, and they want help. Because what I've learned over the past couple years, not knowing a lot about this until recently, is the person really needs to want the help. You can't really force somebody into rehab. They need to be willing and able to go get that help. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else that you'd like to bring up? No, just a little rant in the paper this week over the Gillis Bridge being stuck open. What happened? That's what I'm wondering, what happened. So, that's a main thoroughfare. Back and forth from Newburyport to Salisbury and vice versa. When that bridge gets stuck open, it really causes chaos. And it happened to be Sunday afternoon, big beach day, 4:35 in the afternoon, it got stuck open. Very worst time it could happen. So it causes major traffic delays and inconveniences. But more than that, I have to send officers down to detour cars, because we got to send them down Ferry Road, because it becomes chaotic very quickly. People backing up, people trying to turn around. So I talked to the city marshal here in Newburyport, and In the case Sunday, it was the northbound side of the bridge that was open, and I don't know why we couldn't have opened the southbound side to at least alleviate some traffic. I don't know what their protocols are. So I think we're going to get a meeting together and kind of just all be on the same page with that.
I remember when the New Hampshire International Speedway first opened up, and they had really huge crowds up there for the NASCAR races. What they would do is they would put cones in the roadway, so it was a 2-lane road plus the breakdown lane. But you would have, on the way to the race, they would have 3 lanes up there.
Sure.
And
Yep.
1 lane coming the opposite direction.
Yeah, some of my officers tell me they used to do that on Beach Road years ago. When traffic's coming onto the beach, have it 2 lanes coming in and then 2 lanes coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we're trying our best to manage the traffic. Summer's winding down, but it's been a very, very busy summer, which is great for Salisbury. But people just need to be patient with the traffic.
Well, you can just imagine what would happen because that Route 1A bridge in Seabrook that connects Seabrook and Hampton, that is on its last pieces.
It looks like an older bridge. I've ridden my bike over it.
And they're trying to fix it, and they have the charter boat people planning their trips so they don't have to open it up and lower it, and they'll be redoing that in the fall once everybody goes away.
Are they? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm realistic about it. They're not going to rebuild the Gillis Bridge, but is there a maintenance program? Is there something they can do to help prevent it? It seems to be happening more and more often.
Yeah.
And just want to get the people at the table and talk about it and be reasonable about it, because it really causes issues for both us and Newburyport.
That was at least the second time this season.
Yeah, second time this season. And then if you recall, we had an accident. A lady hit a pole in front of Vaza, knocked down some power lines. While that was not bridge related, it did shut down the bridge because we needed National Grid to come and clean that mess up. So, there's at least 3 times where the bridge was shut down at the very worst time, on a Sunday afternoon when everyone's leaving. Like I said, we have a lot of visitors here, but there's got to be a way to maybe maintain that bridge better or better protocol for getting people out there quicker.
Well, you have another 5 years to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll figure it out, but at least we'll talk about it and try and address it and be proactive about it.
All right. Well, Tom, anything else you want to add?
No, just like I said, summer's winding down. We're dealing with parking. School will be coming back. Kids will be going back to school very shortly, so I'll send out a message over our Code Red system, for people to be careful. School bus stops, everyone kind of forgets all summer. Kids, buses, all that stuff. Kind of ease into it and have a safe first day of school.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Glad I can be here and that you're still on the air.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're on the air, and soon we'll be streaming online as well. So
Excellent.
If you can't pick up the signal on the radio, we do put a signal into Salisbury, but if you can't pick it up in your particular area, you can always listen to us online, and that'd be a great thing, too.
Great. I'll look for that.
Local radio.
Yep.
Excellent. Radio.
Yeah. Thank you, Win.
Thank you so much. Salisbury Police Chief Tom Fowler, our guest here on WJOP Radio, WJOP LP 96.3 FM in Newburyport.